Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being here in the morning, folks. It's Monday. It's the first day of the week, and we are going to have a good show. I wanted to say we are going to have fun, but how can we just today, after what has occurred yesterday, or rather a couple of days ago, what has occurred over the last 9 or 10 days right here in one state? We're going to go through that. But before that, let me just do a little introduction here. This is Politics Done Right. We do Politics Done Right 10 times a week, 5 streaming only, and 5 live on air with KPFT 90.1 FM Houston that I stream as well. This endeavor is completely funded by you voluntarily. That is why I make sure to maintain consistency, dependability, and accuracy with our videos, podcasts, blogs, articles, newsletters, and books. For the next 2 weeks, 1 week's down, 1 week's down. For the next 2 weeks, we will be fundraising to fund the station for the next quarter. But guess what, folks? To be sure, we will continue to maintain a substantive and informative program even during this fund drive. My program, Politics Done Right, must raise a minimum of $250 to cover an informative program that has been given 1 hour, 5 days a week. How can you support Politics Done Right? Please go to kpft.org. Please make sure to select Politics Done Right from the drop-down box when you get to that screen, so it will be attributed to our program. Alternatively, call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Option number 1, let them know if you want to give a one-time contribution or a monthly contribution. Please let them know it's for Politics Done Right so the contribution can be attributed to our program appropriately. Please consider getting a brick. Think about this. You would be instantiated at our station with a brick, showing that you are one of those who ensured that we were there, stayed on air. So please consider getting a brick inscribed with your name and message from a sustaining membership of $25 a month for 4.8 block, or a $50 a month for an 8x8 brick. Or now that I've gotten the brick out of the way, let's go ahead and get busy with some politics. Let's get busy with things that matter to you. Please remember you can give us a call and be on air, 713-526-5738. Instead of the option 1, hit option 2, and you will be placed on air. Again, that is 713-526-5738. Anyhow, the title of the show today is Republicans in Texas are hiding from the gun issue as some pundits and politicians use Allen, Texas. While hosts like Jake Tapper gave Republicans a pass on the gun issue, Jen Psaki and Congressman Colin Allred nailed the gun narrative. Folks, I had all my news off for about 2 hours on Saturday. And I was writing, and I didn't want to be kind of influenced by what I was hearing. I didn't know about the shootings or anything yet. And then I turned on the TV, and the Chiron showed 8 dead in Texas shooting. And for a minute, I figured, oh my God, from 9 days ago, or from 8 days ago, whatever it is, maybe there were 3 others that were in critical condition that we didn't know about from the shooting in Cleveland, Texas, that just died. And that's why the Chiron says 8. And then I started to see the pictures of the mall, and Cleveland is it was a rural area where this occurred, at a house it happened again. We're at over 200 mass shootings right now. And, it took a while to process, this is touching, and it's not about it being touching close to home. It's just becoming second nature, a natural occurrence. None of us want that. All of us say we want changes. All of us say things that I want to start with a piece here that I did. yesterday, preparing for the show today. I'm going to play this piece, then we'll take it on the other side. But before I do that, I want to ask you to please go ahead and call 713-526-5738. Hit option 1 to support the station, to support the program. Hit option 2 to get on air. And before I start again, how rude of me. Good morning, Howard and Mr. Van Beber. How are you guys doing out there in the control room?
Good morning, Egberto. I am pleased to say that the tin cans and string have held up again.
Well, we have
to bring you politics done right.
Well, we have the man with a plan. You know, there's actually, I don't remember, there's this stuff that says a man, a plan, a canal, Panama. It spells the same backwards and forwards. I just shoot into you know what. Anyhow, and Mr. Van Beber, how are you doing, Jack? Is Jack close by or?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm doing good this morning. Guns are crazy. I got some other comments later, but for now, just guns are crazy.
They are crazy. I want to go ahead and play.
Crazy people with guns. I said crazy people with guns.
Yeah.
Themselves are just inanimate objects.
Well, that's true, and that is what I really mean to say. I mean, I don't like guns personally, but I don't have anything against responsible gun owners at all. I think it's their right, whether they're in the United States or elsewhere. The thing about it, you got to be responsible about it. But here in the United States, listen to this, and then we'll go ahead and take it on the other side. I could not be more upset at this point with the way Jake Tapper conducted this interview with Karen Finney, Jonah Goldberg, Representative Hillary Shelton, and former Vice President's help, Mark Short. I want you to think about this. He felt safe enough to castigate both Karen Finney and Representative Hillary Shelton. He think he needed to correct them for the statements that they made. But for the asinine statements made by Jonah Goldberg and Mark Short, he just let it slide by as if it had some validity. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
You flipped your Trump district in Michigan blue, and I'm wondering, obviously there's no appetite in Congress for the kind of sweeping gun measures that Democrats would like to pass. But what about something like red flag laws, aggressive ones, where people can really try to keep guns out of the hands of people who are going through crises? Is there any possibility of bipartisanship there?
I think that there is, Jake. And one thing that I am seeing every day in Congress is a renewed interest to address this national trauma. Now, this goes far beyond the carnage that we see, bodies stacked up behind an outlet mall. Look at all those people fleeing the mall, the trauma that it reverberates around our country, the mental health crisis that's rising in our young people who have been forced to bear the burden of gun violence in our country, which is now the #1 killer of children in the United States of America. This is a uniquely American problem, and we don't have to live like this.
I don't think that there is a frontal way at gun control that politically will work in any time soon. So if there are ways to work the problem, I think it's going to be in the realm of mental health. Red flag laws, I think, are an important thing. I'm very much in favor of those. Part of the problem is that these mass shootings are a form of social contagion, where people have a switch flipped when they see this, and then they they copycat. And we saw similar things with like political assassinations in the 60s and 70s, and then it just sort of stopped. I don't think we can just wait for it to stop because it's such a huge problem, but understanding that it's a socially complex thing, and doing things at the margins that help rather than hurt, I think, is the only approach you can take.
But this is shameful. The #1 killer of children, and there's nothing. I mean, that's obscene, right? If it was a flu, we would find a vaccine. And I think we have to talk about this as an example of the corrosive impact of money in politics. In Tennessee, the Tennessee legislature, they actually went out of session without passing gun legislation, despite the fact that the mothers from that school where the shooting occurred were there every day for the last 2 weeks, begging them to just take up legislation. And what did they do? They actually went out of session a week early because the gun lobby pushed them and said, don't you dare consider any legislation.
I have to say, I respectfully disagree that money is the issue here. I think this is a culture. I think it's a cultural issue. I think people feel an attachment to guns that is beyond a $5,000.
The NRA is bankrupt. It's voters who care a lot about gun rights.
But they still put pressure on.
I mean, Congressman Mark Short. Let me just show you this. So this is policies that the American people support, according to a recent Fox poll in April. 87% support universal background checks. 81% raising the age to 21 for the purchase of all guns. 80% requiring mental health checks. 80% red flag laws. Those don't seem like unreasonable intrusions on the constitutional right.
Well, I think that if it was really money in politics or the impact of the gun lobby, the reality is that Democrats had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House last Congress. It didn't pass gun control legislation. So it's not so easy as we want to portray it as, Jake. But I also think the reality is that this year there have been 13,000 deaths by gun violence. The vast majority, 95% of them, are in inner cities. We have some of the strictest gun control laws in the country. We're not being tough on crime in general. I think we can actually have a much stronger impact if we got serious about getting tough on crime in our inner cities.
But then why? Sorry.
No. Respectfully, Mark, last Congress, we did pass a once in a generation Safer Communities bill to combat this. I have personally co-sponsored 8 different pieces of common sense, gun control legislation that has the majority of Americans backing it, and Republicans refuse to bring it to the floor. Mm-hmm. We can preserve the Second Amendment and protect our children. This is not a zero-sum game.
But if I could just make the point that Mark's right in the sense that the AR-15 mass shootings get attention for obvious reasons, but it is the one-offs in the inner city that are actually more deadly and bigger threats to the survival of Americans.
And what have Republicans done about it? Their debt ceiling proposal defunds the police, cuts tens of thousands of law enforcement jobs.
To be fair, they haven't been specific about any of the cuts. Which is not a compliment.
But in reality, what are Republicans doing about it? The Democrats are out there with bills that will increase law enforcement on the streets,
the
funding
vast majority
the police.
Of cities are Democrat controlled,
Okay, but there's also been plenty of studies that show actually crime rates are higher in red states than blue states. So if we're going to go down that road, let's talk some facts. I want to clarify, though, I'm not saying that money in politics is the only reason.
Right.
I'm saying with the numbers you just showed about the will of the American people, there should be more, you would think, Republicans should be more willing to come to the table and pass legislation.
What Karen Finney said was absolutely truth. It's money in politics that allows us to have the horrendous gun laws that we have. It is money in politics that have purchased all the politicians that prevent us from doing what is necessary to pass good gun control laws that everybody can live by and reduces crime, not only in the inner cities, but also these terrorists that go out there and just mass kill people. Now, what did Jake Tapper do? When she said it's money in politics, he said, well, I don't know if it's money in politics, Karen, but it is money in politics. But here's what he shows right after that to show you the inconsistency of the discussion when it comes to guns. He shows that 80% plus of Americans wanted background checks. They wanted to restrict guns for kids that are under 21 years old. There's a lot of gun control measures that Americans want, over 80%. And he felt sufficiently correct to castigate Karen Finney for saying that. Now, Representative Hillary Shelton, she points out that the new budget that the Republicans passed defunds the police. Well, then he says, well, they didn't specify exactly what they want to cut. Well, she should have come back and said, Jake Tapper, you're partially right. They want to defund everything because given that they're saying hold things steady at the 2022 level, that's the only way you can do it. Defund just about everything. So you're right about that, Jake Tapper. They don't only want to defund the police. They want to defund your Social Security. They want to defund your health care. They want to defund just about everything. But again, he felt it was good to castigate her. Now, Jonah Goldberg, I think he made a fool of himself. He's like, oh, we can't do anything about this gun violence because I think it's like copycats, back in the 60s when they were shooting leaders, and it just then stopped. And so he wants it to just stop. But he said, oh, no. Let's not just wait for it to stop. But we can only do certain things on the edges. He showed a certain level of impotence. And Jake Tapper said, wait a minute, sir, with the high percentage of Americans wanted good gun control, we could actually do it. We don't have to listen to when you say things like, oh, it's cultural no, that's not true. The polls do not say that. Now, lastly, Mark Sharp comes out when Schotten comes out and says, they want to defund the police. And Mark Sharp said, well, look, the reality is Democrats were in power for a while and they did nothing. Given that the host was able to correct Finney, Jake Tapper was able to correct Finney when he incorrectly correct Finney when she said it's money in politics that caused the problem. Why didn't he correct Short and said, well, Short, the Democrats couldn't do anything because they do not have a filibuster-proof Senate. And therefore, there's nothing the Democrats could pass that would come into law because Republicans are blocking it, because Republicans would block it. This just shows the leaning of the mainstream media is always to the right. It's always to protect Republicans when they come on the shows. It caters to them. It coddles them. And progressives and Democrats just have to claw their way to try to get that message out through mainstream media. To which I say, maybe Karen Finney, maybe Hillary Scholten should start doing more politics done right as opposed to doing MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. Well, do them too. But maybe you should come here where you actually will get a fair hearing. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. And it is some folks, don't forget, we are in fund drive mode and we make sure to still give you a solid program even as we are fund driving. So give us a call, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. I want to thank El Senor Jack Van Beber for being a huge contributor to Politics Done Right. And the good thing about Van right now is he's also in studio. So Van, talk to me. Look, why tell our audience why you felt compelled to support this station via Politics Done Right. I think you're still
headset on right now.
Yeah, he's going to try to put that headset on. Did he hear me at all, or?
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay,
everybody
great.
can hear you.
Everybody can hear me. What can I say?
Everybody can hear you. You don't even need a transmitter, Egberto.
Oh, wow. I can stay and just shout off the rooftop and everybody hears.
Oh, yeah, sure. People on the south side are saying, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Anyway.
And they're shouting in Cleveland.
And I'm shouting in Cleveland. Van Beber, what's up, Van Beber?
Anywhere, I'm sitting here with the Zen master of tin cans and string, and I wrote a little something this morning. It comes to me that this is the corporate model for government. Both sides of the aisle are being manipulated. The right is being propagandized with bigotry and hate speak and lies about the left, the gays and the lesbians and the transgenders and the promiscuous women who are seeking to hang on to 50 years of sexual freedom. The right, the propagandized white supremacist gun nut who perpetrates these crimes usually gets killed. So I'm saying the right is being manipulated too to do this. The politicians are hiding behind, the literal interpretations of the Second Amendment to not do anything. And,
I think you nailed it. It's all, and I think an important part that you nailed as well, in my humble opinion, Senor Van Beber. I just like to call you by your last name, Jack. But you know I love you, man. But anyhow, I
gotta go too.
The thing about it is, I think both sides can be propagandized, or both sides can be under a certain amount of control, right? But ultimately, it's who's actually there for things that matter to people, and that is the thing that we try to drive home. But anyway, Jack, before you continue, I want to say this. Thank you for supporting this station, not only with your volunteerism, or however that is said, but with your financial support. Again, why do you do this?
Well, there's not a lot of free speech out on the media today. It's been all eaten up by the big guys, and the small guy doesn't have a voice. I've grown up and been in recovery, and I care about people. I know what's going on out in the world. And, I'm going to try to put a little different view on it with my own opinion, and I hope it's valid.
I try to tell people, when a lot of people say that, they'll call in and they're like, well, I don't know if this is valid or not. I mean, the thing about it is, an opinion is just that. And it is a state that you're in, what you're feeling, whatever, So, opinions are valid. Just a statement to everybody listening to the program right now. And by the way, knowing about Politics Done Right, we want to hear all your opinions, whether it's on the left side of the aisle, the right side of the aisle. We'll disagree, we'll agree, we'll do all those things all the way in between as well. But I think it's important that we're talking. If we're talking, we're not shooting up each other. What you saw in these other places are people not talking but shooting. And on my program as well, I tell folks that all the time. Some folks would be like, why entertain the other side? And I would give the response, the other side is also us. It's only one country. It's not two. It's not three. It's one country. So anyhow, thank you very much for your commentary, Senor Jack. I appreciate that. And Howard, anything you want to add before I kind of move on to where we want to head?
I think we're good here.
All right, 713-526-5738. Hit the number 2 if you'd like to speak on air. If you have a commentary, if you want to say something, we want to hear from you. 713-526-5738. Hit option number 2. And if you want to, you can call that number as well, 713-526-5738. Hit option number 1 to contribute, or go to kpft.org to contribute online. And remember to select Politics Done Right as a chosen show that you're contributing for. I have my screen up to see any contributions that come either by phone or online, so that I can call you out if you allow me to do so. So give me a call, 713-526-5738. Hit option number 1 to contribute. Look, folks, if you subscribe for at least $40, I think it is, you are automatically able to be a part of this station's voting block. In other words, you can vote for the leadership of the station. You can both locally and nationally. Remember, we are a part of Pacifica Network, a fairly large network of stations and affiliates. And you will have your say in that for a contribution of $40 for a membership. But if you want a Politics Done Right T-shirt, you can get for $100 contribution. And you get that Politics Done Right T-shirt with the KPFT logo on it. You can. I think there was also a bus thing, right, Howard? That somebody's offering us right now.
Our very own Mr. McKinney has done it again. He is offering a tour of the historic areas, picking you up here at KPFT. It's a 1.5 hour and a half tour VIP tour of the historic Herman Park Museum District and Texas Medical Center. And it's only open to those who donate $75. Right, $75. That will get you a ticket to the bus tour. I think they did one yesterday, or we're going to do one yesterday as soon as the weather straightens up. It's an open air bus. It's really kind of cool. And plus, Mr. McKinney, he's worth paying $75 for just to watch him talk.
Yes,
He's very entertaining.
He's very entertaining.
You can pick that up for $75 in our fund drive, and I think you'll really enjoy that.
713-526-5738. Option number 1 to contribute. Option number 2 to call and have your say. And by the way, I'd love to have some callers call in 713-526-5738 and tell me your thoughts after 8 or so days after what occurred in Cleveland, to be once again watching 8 of our fellow Texas citizens get killed by yet another AR-15. What are your thoughts on that? Let me tell you. This week, the first Saturday of every month, I have a Zoom webinar-like thing. It's not a webinar; it's just a Zoom meeting. And anybody who listens to the show, they will just chime in, and it's called Ask Egberto Anything. And we had a very substantive Ask Egberto Anything this weekend. And the thing that touched me the most was 2 things. There is an American citizen who calls into the show all the time from Barcelona, Spain. And she was just sort of like, what can we do? It's not only about guns, it's about the economy. It's about, how we continue to have our monies, our wealth just moved up to the select few. And she was all distraught. And then one of our listeners in Michigan, he said, Egberto, I don't know if I share your optimism that things are getting better or going to get better. And, the tone of the discussion initially started in that realm, to which I said, look, we know what happened in the past. We know what is happening right now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But here is the important thing that we still have the ability to do right now. And that is, we still, in as much as they are trying to take things away with our votes, etc., we still have one person, one vote, and for all practical purposes, it still gets counted. And we still have the ability to vote out fascists. We still have the ability to vote out those who are passing policies that hurt us all. We still have that ability. They would love the sentiment that I heard from my 2 solid listeners. That sentiment of, I can't do anything. That sentiment of throwing your hands up in the air and just giving up and disengaging. They want that because a disengaged population does not challenge the powers, the plutocracy, those who are trying to have their will at your expense. They know if you're disengaged. I told you guys on Friday that I called up several of our state representatives on Thursday. I think it was that I called them when I took my daughter to an event. And the main one that I wanted to get to called me. She was on the floor in Austin, and she said, "Egberto, I told you I was going to call you back. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you on Thursday." She got back to me on Friday, and this is what she said, and this was bewildering to me. She said, "Egberto, you talk all along that Texas is not a red state. It's actually a blue state that does not vote." For the caller that just called in, we may have accidentally dropped you. Please give us a call again. And she said, "Egberto, it's a non-voting state. And let me tell you what happened, Egberto." She said, 5.3 million Democrats in Texas did not vote. Else we would have had for governor, we would have had a Governor Beto O'Rourke. We would have had a Lieutenant Governor Mike Collier. It was close enough that had some of those people voted, including many in Harris County whose vote count wasn't really up, we would have had a Beto O'Rourke. We would have had measures to control AR-15s. We would have had all these things. Lives would have been saved. And she said, right now, we feel, meaning Democrats on the field, on the line right now, she says, we feel like we are on a plantation. She also said, and this is a well-respected state rep, she said, we feel like we're in a plantation. And then she said, and not even the governor is in control. Not even the governor is in control. Go ahead, Howard. Come on in, my brother.
I wanted to talk about voting. It is your right as a citizen and your duty to vote. Many people along the history of the United States have died for your right to vote. Exercise that right to vote. You tell them, you work for me, you get out of my house. We don't like what you're doing. It is your right and your responsibility to vote. I don't understand people who don't vote. It doesn't compute to me. You have a voice. You have to use it. Otherwise, one day you won't have that voice. And then we're starting to see that right now. All the gerrymandering, all the voting restrictions, et cetera. They're starting to take it away from you. Don't let them do that. People today, go out to a veteran cemetery. Those people sacrificed their life for your right to vote, for your say-so. Look at some of the folks who marched in the civil rights movement. They wanted that vote. The women's suffrage, they wanted the vote. Use that vote. Honor those people. Sometimes that is the only reason I do vote, because I don't like the choices that I have, but I have to vote because people died to give me that right. You have the right to vote. Please, please, please use it. If you don't like what they're doing, vote them out. Get rid of them. Change the direction. You have that right. One vote, one person, fine. So it just boggles my mind that people don't honor the folks who fought for your right to vote. You have to. Go out to a veteran cemetery again. Look at all the people who died for your right to vote. And you don't use it? Shame on you. And that's what I got to say.
Thank you very much for that message, Howard. It is so important that we do that. 713-526-5738. What's your thoughts? 713-526-5738. Hit option 2 to get on air right away. All lines are currently open. Hit option 1 to contribute. If you contribute within this hour, I'll be able to call your name out right away and thank you on air. I love thanking folks on air. 713-526-5738. And likewise, please remember, folks, it's very, very important that you support us. We are the only real community station completely funded by you right now on air in Southeast Texas. 713-526-5738. I want to go on a short soapbox here. And we are a family of volunteers that makes sure to bring you what often you don't get from, Johnny is there, so I better just put Johnny on and then I'll get on my little soapbox. Go ahead, Johnny. Talk to me, sir. Bring Johnny on, please. Thank you. Johnny, you're on.
Okay. Are we there yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. With all due respect to your guy who's talking about we should vote, I agree. Participation in the democratic process is something everybody should be encouraged to do, and we should do. Not just for a moral obligation, but for other reasons. And not voting is a form of voting, provided you do it in a certain way like I do. I showed up at the polls to vote, and I voted in certain races, and I voted on certain amendments. But I did not vote in the governor's race. And I told them in advance why. I told the Democratic Party structure. I emailed. I voicemailed. I spoke to the campaign people for Beto O'Rourke. And you just said a moment ago, you said something like 5 million Democrats in the state of Texas did not show up to vote?
That's correct.
Okay, now when you say 5 million Democrats didn't show up to vote, does that mean that they did not show up at the polls to vote in any race? Or did they show, or some of them might have showed up to vote in some races like I did, but not in the governor's race?
She told me that they didn't show up to vote.
Okay, so that's serious. That is a serious issue. That speaks to my concerns that I've been telling the Democratic Party leadership for decades. The onus is not on people like me or you. The onus is on the leadership of the Democratic Party. I feel like a broken record. Nancy Pelosi has a lot to explain, not me. She's the one. And other leaders of the party have done this. They are inflexible. They are sclerotic in their thinking. People out here are angry. And I'm not talking about those mutes who showed up on January 6th. I'm talking about regular people that work every day for a living, who pay their taxes, try to put a roof over their heads and feed their kids, and they pay the taxes that provides their salaries in Washington. And
Johnny,
you can't expect, I can't expect a small handful of people like Ilhan Omar and Bernie and Alexandria. They are outnumbered right now.
Yes, they are. And that's where I wanted to interrupt you a bit and say that we have, and this is where progressives have to find a way to break the cycle of having to go with a whole bunch of neoliberals who makes people just want to stay home, even as it hurts them even more. So I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
I think I was just saying that when you just said what I just said. So, as usual, we are in agreement. What I am angry about right now is when I hear people say, even people that I respect, saying that you have to vote. No. If you are given a choice between Coke and Pepsi, then what's the point? That is as pointless as people in Russia voting for someone who says he's going to be their leader regardless.
Well, Johnny, I think you are wise enough that if you had a choice between somebody who is going to maintain the status quo and somebody who is going to eliminate your ability to vote in the future, at that point, you had to make the calculated vote. Am I correct?
Let me say it this way. When I spoke to Beto's people, they could not answer my question directly about Beto's voting record and about what he plans to do. And that's a big red flag for me. Him talking remember when that guy was interrupting Beto, we used the cuss word, and Beto returned the cuss word back, and everyone applauded. I was one of the people applauding Beto. I said, That's the kind of attitude we have to see. We have to see in our Democratic candidates that kind of no-nonsense, in-your-face rebuttal in real time.
Right, because people respect strength.
Otherwise, the other side, Egberto, they become emboldened more and more. And
exactly.
That's what we're seeing now, manifesting in retail violence every day.
Johnny, I agree with you. Johnny, let me jump to the other call because they're starting to come in now. So I appreciate your sentiment and thank you for listening and calling in, my brother. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Let's go to Micah. Come on in, Micah.
Yeah. Hi, Beto. Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I was just coming to calling to make a comment on, I was listening to one of those talk shows on Sunday morning, I think this week. Mm-hmm. And the poll that shows that a poll that shows that the American people think that Donald Trump would do a better job with the economy than Biden would, or he did a better job during his time than Biden would. But then again, I just can't understand why the Democratic Party wouldn't go out there and tell the American people the record of the Republican Party on the economy over the past 40 years.
You know,
Every Republican administration has, when they leave office, we end up in a deficit. And then a Democrat has to come in and clean that up. And then another Republican will come in, he wrecks the economy again. And I don't know why the Democratic Party will not go out there and show the people that the Republican Party has no concern about the economy of the country. They just let these people go about and saying that, nonsense all every time. And they just being, too lackadaisical about, going out there and telling people what is actually going on in this country.
Micah, let me tell you, I think it's by design. And, many Democrats get on my case for saying this, right? But there's not much difference between a moderate Republican and a neoliberal Democrat. In fact, they serve the same masters. The Democratic Party is factioned into the moderate base and the progressive base. The progressive base believe in the social programs and all of that, and the liberal and the neoliberal part of this party is there to keep the liberal base at bay, the progressive base at bay. So if we were to look and see the policies that really makes for a better America for most Americans, right? It means it will fly in the face of many of the ultra wealthy, etc. And guess who protects that ultra wealthy as well? Not just Republicans. They have their feet in both parties. The Democratic neoliberal portion of the party, as well as the Republican Party. So when you see that Democrats do not fight back, there is no way if we were messaging truth that anybody would believe that the Republican policies have been good for the economy or that Trump did anything positive for the economy. There's nobody that would believe that if Democrats were messaging appropriately. It so happened that a lot of the policies that Trump support are simply a whole bunch of neoliberal policies in this country. I'll go into that in another program in detail, Micah, but your sentiment and what you're saying is absolutely correct, sir.
Yeah, even here in Texas, there are a lot of things that are going on, and if the Democratic Party, even Beto O'Rourke, like I agree with your previous caller when Beto O'Rourke stood up and said that guy at the same time that he interrupted him. I can remember during the Bill Clinton era that when he had some, people going wrong, and as soon as a Republican or George Bush would come up and say something negative or whatever, Bill Clinton had his people going right back, coming back on TV or wherever it is, and hitting them right back at the same time.
Right. Well, let's give a great example. Sorry to interrupt you, and the reason why is I have to run to another call, but I want to give you a quick example. And this quick example is look at healthcare. Right. Right now, Republicans claim to be fiscally responsible, yet they're leaving billions every year on the table because they refuse to accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Texans are paying for it. Hospitals in rural areas in Texas are closing. People who need health care are dying, but because, again, ideological reasons, they don't do it. That alone should prevent many of disqualifying for any of these guys to be holding office. I got to go, Micah, to Brian. So anything else you want to say in 10 seconds?
Just thank you for your time. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you so kindly, Micah. Let's go ahead and bring Brian in. Brian, how are you doing today, sir? Brian, you're
really angry.
Talk to me.
Well, I think the problem is you are absolutely right. Democrats, Republicans, the same crap in different suits, and they use the filibuster to convince their base, oh, we're doing something, but the Republicans won't let us. And the Republicans say, hey, look, we stopped them from doing exactly what you didn't want us not to stop them for. And then, I don't want to bring the show down anymore, but you guys aren't even talking about the 9 human beings that were killed in Brownsville yesterday.
That's how we started the show, sir.
No, you're talking about the 8 people in Dallas. I'm talking about the 9 people in Brownsville.
Yeah.
You didn't hear about them yet?
Yes, I did. And here's the issue with why I haven't spoken about that yet. Is that I didn't quite. I should have mentioned it. By the way, let me back up. I should have mentioned that in the beginning of the program. I didn't. But the thing is, I don't have full information on that as far as if it was an accident or not.
Well, they're saying it's a hate crime, but you're right. We should probably wait and find out if it was just the guy stepped on the gas.
Right. And that I didn't know. I should have mentioned that it occurred, but I didn't know what was behind it.
But if it's a hate crime, again, it comes down to the Democrats and the Republicans and the mainstream media pitting us against each other. No one's illegal. Everyone has the right to live and the right to work, to feed their family.
Look, I am with you 100%, Brian, and I think that, as I explained to Micah before, the problem is we have the folks that call themselves, let's say the moderates, right? These are our neoliberal faction protecting the upper classes against progressives, and believe it or not, on the right side, they're protecting themselves against the what many of us believe or well, the very right wing, which many of us think is pretty fringy. But again, that is where we're at right now. Until we move that, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
37 MAGAs. They are extremists. They're a cult. I don't know how to convince them to come back to a system of American government that represents everybody. But yes, again, you are correct in that comment. So
I think what we have to do, I'm sorry, I think what we have to do, Brian, and this is what I talk about a lot on my show as well, and that is we have to open the door to listen, do a hell of a lot of listening so that we can have them listen themselves into where they need to be. And I know it doesn't sound quite right, but we've done that before. We have to let people listen themselves into the right direction in a lot of ways, as opposed to preaching to them 100% of the times.
I've lost both my parents to the cult. Can't even talk to them anymore.
Well, let me tell you, I have a sister in the cult. I have relatives in the cult. Here's the thing. I have brought some out simply by listening, talking, and I tell you, that is what we got to do. So don't give up on your parents, Brian. That's all I'm going to tell you. Don't give up on them and wait for that. Wait for the wedge part where you can actually get in. But I got to go now and do some asks here because we're yet to raise some funds for the show. And we need to also get a few things done, Brian. So thank you so kindly for calling in. Thank you kindly for being a part of the program.
Thank you, Egberto.
All right. Anyway, folks, please give us a call, 713-526-5738. Please hit extension number 1 to contribute to the show. I'd love to call your name out. We only have about 8 or so minutes left, and I need your calls. We try to give you an informative show every single day, even during this fund drive. So please give a call, 713-526-5738, extension number 1. And look, I'm going to throw myself on the block. I was telling Howard the other day, Howard and Jack, look, man, contribute. We'll go out for some coffee, $250, and we go out for some coffee as a like, thank you. And what you want to talk about here, what you want to talk about, Egberto, do you want to slap him around or something like that for $250?
Oh, that's $500 to slap Egberto. And then the question really is do you pay for the coffee?
I'll pay for the coffee. I will pay for the coffee, right?
Okay, we'll stand by with all the bandages on the side.
Okay,
wants to slap Egberto around.
713
$500 gone.
Come on, man. Come on. Let's go ahead and give us a call. 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to contribute, or go to kpft.org. Please remember to tell folks on the phone that you're supporting Politics Done Right, or when you support us on our kpft.org website, remember to select Politics Done Right as the program. Folks, a little soapbox here, a little time that I have left. Soapbox. I told you I was going to give you a show. I gave you a show and also took some calls, but we need your support. 713-526-5738, extension 1, or go to kpft.org. I speak fast, so I'm going to go again. kpft.org or 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Look, I pay for cable. I think I'm using YouTube Live for $79 or $80 or something like that a month. High speed internet and other news channel. By the time I'm done, welcome aboard, Alistair Waters. By the time I'm done on services to the corporations that bring me information, I'm paying probably north of $250 a month in all these different types of communication services that bring information. And many of the information that's coming over there is information I don't necessarily want, because they're pretty much lying to me, trying to get me to buy something or otherwise. That's our system. Now, we also have a KPFT 90.1 FM Houston, and we have a Politics Done Right, trying its best to inform us, to declutter some of the news that you've got out there. All I'm asking for is, like many people are paying $250, $150 per month on these others. Can you somehow, in a part of your budget, say, I want to support a station that I know is working for me, that I know I have access to, that I know if there's something bothering me about the news, I can call in, I can make my voice heard, or I know I can have someone who's willing to go out there and research this stuff for me and come back with a valid answer. And for that, I just have to give. Well, I don't have to give. I want to give for having this service that I can get for free, or I can decide to support to ensure they can continue doing it. Can you give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension 1, and say, I will support this. And knowing that you also have input in a station that's listening to you. That's a station that's not only on air 90.1 FM Houston, a station that's on the internet, a station that is everywhere. 713-526-5738 or kpft.org. $100 contribution that you don't have to pay at once gets you the Politics Done Right t-shirt with the logo on it. Hey, a $250 donation, I'll take you out to coffee. Come to the station, we'll go to a coffee shop. Get a tour of the station. We are here serving on a volunteer basis, but we have to pay for the 100,000 watt transmitter. We must pay for our electricity, our lights, everything that keeps this stuff going, our high-speed internets. So again, I ask to call 713-526-5738, extension 1, with your contribution for Politics Done Right on KPFT, or go to kpft.org and contribute. It is a worthwhile investment to ensure that you have a voice that's there, not only informing you, but that you can be a part of. That is how we can do it. Many people complain about, that Brian just said, I don't know how my mother and my father could have been dragged down the rabbit hole. I hear that over and over again. We hear that the polls have that Donald Trump is better for the economy than Biden or progressives or whatever. We hear that. And you ask, how did that happen? Because the voices that need to be heard, the voices that need most to be heard, are the ones that are unable to get the traction on air. Politics Done Right on KPFT is just one voice of many that we need to be out there telling the truth. But we can't do it unless you support us. 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org, select Politics Done Right as the program you're supporting. Folks, personally, I've dedicated my life to do this. I said, I left the company to say, you know what? At some point in time, somebody has to be willing to make the change for us all. Somebody has to be the one investing in us. And I remember one night just saying, you know what? We are always talking about somebody needs to do it. That somebody may be you. And that's when I started doing all this with Politics Done Right, articles, blogs, writing books, all that kind of stuff. Because it was like, I want to make sure that the country that I'm leaving to my daughter when I leave this earth is the same kind of country I had hoped to be in when I came to America. 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to contribute, or go to kpft.org, kpft.org. Please select Egberto. Not Egberto. What am I saying? Please select Politics Done Right.
There we go.
Talk to me,
right.
Talk to me, Reynolds. Talk to me.
Oh, I'm just sitting here thinking, this is a very unique radio station in the fact that we do get listener support. It's done it for 53 years. You want to put your name in the hat and keep this station going. Politics Done Right is a fine example of it. You will not hear the truth anywhere else. It's corporate truth on the other stations. Here, Egberto tells you the truth. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree or not, it is the truth. So I think that's worth supporting.
713-526-5738, extension number 1. Folks, I want to hear from you. If any of you were waiting, say, well, I want to listen to the program, I'll do it after. If you do it after, please remember when you're at kpft.org, please do remember to select Politics Done Right so that it will be appropriately attributed to our program. We cannot do this without you. Again, like I said many times during Fund Drive, everybody, you people kind of tune out. They're asking for money now. I got to go to another station. I try to play not the middle role, but give you more program than pitching, because I know that many of you will do that. After the show, you go ahead and put it in, and I'll call you out on the next program. But we do need your help. 713-526-5738. Let's stay on air. Folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. I want to thank Jack Van Bibber for answering the phones. I want to thank Howard and Reynolds for being in there in the studio. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.